Dear viewers from over the whole world, welcome to the opening of the multi-purpose pilot plant called Small Plant, Giant Leap. We're here at the center of the circular hub of the Brightlands Camelot campus. And we're opening a small plant, but a plant with an enormous potential for scaling up in the chemical industry. We are happy that we finally can open this plant and that we can invite you to be present here. And on behalf of the three organizing partners, Brightlands Camelot Campus, Camelot Insight, and Futuro, would like to welcome you. We have some guests here today with us, which I would like to shortly introduce. We have Joost van der Akker from the province of Limburg, Erik Appelman from the Brightlands Camelot Campus, Emiel Staring from Camelot Insight, Michael Boot from Futuro, and Rinus Brokselman from Innocin. And before we really start this event, I want to make one comment to all the viewers at home. If you have a question for one of the gentlemen for during the panel discussion, please put it in the chat, and we as facilitators will make sure that these questions are asked to these gentlemen. So now it's time for a short introduction of the facilitators. She's the communication manager of the Camelot Institute for Science and Technology, in short, Camelot Insight. An institute that helps researchers and young companies, startups, in scaling up their bio-based economy research. She's a strong voice in a young institute. I would like to warm welcome you to Ingrid Grimberg.
Well, thank you so much, Danny. It is a real joy for me to presenting this today with you and to introduce Danny to you as the Chief Business Officer at Futuro, active since the beginning of 2019. Well, with a PhD in his back pocket and a fast tongue, Danny lays a perfect connection between the research at Insight and the business at Futuro. And together with the business team of Futuro, he is targeting future applications of crude lignin oil, so-called green oil. And with a little help of Insight, Futuro has been developing this now for the last 3 years. And just as Futuro does, we would like to invite other companies too to use test facilities and explore opportunities to contribute to a circular economy. Because now really is the time to do that. Sustainability is in our hands. And with this joint effort with Futuro, Camelot Insight, and the Brightlands Camelot Campus, we would like to show you what we can achieve together. We speed up innovation and contribute to society, we create new business, and sometimes we even create completely new business value chains. We'd like to show you a preview of how we do this. Please join along.
This kind of facility is rather unique. A lot of innovation starts here. We are working on a daily basis on a sustainable chemical industry together with our customers. It does feel great, yeah.
I think for all the startup companies working in, for example, the materials or chemicals based on bio, this is just a place to be.
I think we are at the beginning of a completely new transition into a completely new chemical industry. Being part of that and actually having an active role in that, of course, makes you feel very proud.
The facility is a test ground for researchers and knowledge institutes, and also for small and large companies where they can upscale their lab process to a pilot plant level.
Chemical processes developed in the lab, before you can do it at industrial scale, we do the intermediate step here, which is essential and necessary. So it really speeds up the development of new chemical processes for instance, a durable chemical industry.
This plant is very important for us because it's the first step to commercialization. We work on a 100% bio-based oil. This is really the place to be if you want to save time and money in the first steps for your commercialization.
It's unique because it is a shared facility. A lot of equipment is available for various applications, very easy accessible, directly and at very low cost.
Companies can lease for a limited period of time the multipurpose pilot plant. We have a few pilot facilities. Only a few adjustments have to be made to make it possible to scale up their own lab process.
By being able to use the facilities that we use now, we can go to the market very fast and very rapidly, which is unseen before. When you see what we already grew in the last 3 years, it's almost exceptional, never done before. I think within now and let's say 3-4 years, we will be on a commercial scale. And already see now that we're attracting a lot of industrial partners, and I think this will only grow.
We're thinking about expanding the facility already. Yeah, it's a big success. I think we will grow and keep going.
And I think this joint effort is really rewarding and we can all be really proud of that.
Well, we hope you enjoyed this preview, and later on we will take you on the grand virtual tour. But before we do that, we would like to invite Joost van den Akker of the province of Limburg to say a few words about the value of this multipurpose pilot plant for the region. Joost?
Thank you very much, Ingrid. Dear ladies and gentlemen, viewers at your office, at home or on the site. Very glad to be standing here and having a partly online and offline event of opening this multipurpose pilot plant, which was originally scheduled in March, April, but because of the coronavirus, obviously it had to be postponed. But what a great feeling to be here again and to see on the campus site again people walking, some students working, and seeing that something is going on here. And that's particularly what the value of campuses is, connecting, informally meeting each other, and also inventing and inviting the unexpected. That's particularly the way also how Danny van Os and I met on the 13th of November at Château near Cannes at an informal meeting of the Young European Talent Program. I was there to lobby for the Dutch-French connection, getting the Tour de France back to Limburg. He was there inviting, making new friends and working on European networks. And immediately he said, right on the spot, we are developing this new multi-purpose pilot plant with Vertoro, and probably you're not responsible for the campus within the provincial government, but I'd like to invite you at our opening event. And I'm gladly to be here, so thank you very much again for inviting me. It shows also the way we organize this event today, how we are able to adapt and to preserve the campus. And whatever happens, we carry on. We have been seeing how much the coronavirus has been impacting the global economy, but in a very short period of time, looked like flourishing economy for entrepreneurs was engaged by dark clouds, which, according to experts, even indicate an impending recession. So the impact of this pandemic surprised most entrepreneurs and requires an innovative approach to stay afloat. It's great to see how businesses are adapting. For instance, restaurants that quickly switched to supplying takeaways, coffees to go, through the window for customers to finish at home, help provided healthcare professionals, training courses offered in digital form, museums to open their doors online, offline again fortunately now, and companies that temporarily offer software for free, and so on. It's particularly inspiring, and I'm quite proud of that, and proud on them. Real entrepreneurship is emerging in crisis times, and that creativity of entrepreneurs is impressive. But you need to do more than creativity alone. Having an idea is one thing, but innovation is the process of arriving at the ideal combination between a good idea and the commercialization of this idea. Innovation is successful only when it produces results. In recent years, Limburg has worked extremely hard to attract and develop promising startups, like Vertoro today. I'm therefore delighted that the government is assisting startups and scale-ups also in these days of crisis with the so-called coronavirus bridging loan, corona-overbruggingsfinanciering. Up to now, startups were excluded because their short existence meant that they could not demonstrate a decline in turnover. But the scheme, active since the month of May, offers a lifeline to this group of entrepreneurs, very important for Limburg because startups are the core of our economic structure and campus developments. We have about 200 and 300 of such businesses at our 4 campuses, focusing on high-tech, health, materials and nutrition. And therefore, the Brightlands campuses serve as a breeding ground for these developments. The Brightlands concept, with its 4 campuses in Geleen, Venlo, Heerlen and Maastricht, has become one of the most vital pillars of Limburg's economy in just 10 years. With more than 5,000 direct jobs, 2,500 on this Camelot campus, and many thousand more jobs in the subcontracting and spin-off and the building of turnover, there are well-functioning ecosystems with the business community, the government and knowledge institutes working together on innovations. In recent years, dozens of companies and organizations have joined, including a national institute such as TNO and, of course, the education institutions. Organizations from Germany and Belgium, border regions, are also getting along, like the Aachen-Maastricht Institute on bio-based materials. The Maastricht Health Campus, on the other hand, has projects in China and California. So Brightlands is international. Its embedding, its becoming is more and more robust. And the campuses are a goldmine for Limburg, economic flywheels we can't do without, certainly not in these times of tension. In the recent decades, a lot has been invested in the economic infrastructure, from facilities for small, medium-sized enterprises to the Brightlands campus locations. And the challenge for the next years to come is to make these investments even more profitable for Limburg society as a whole. This means that all plans and proposals are assessed against these provincial ambitions. I'm convinced that together, government, higher education institutions, R&D, and entrepreneurs, we can make this difference. We have mapped out the route in our mission-driven economic policy framework, which is voted upon tonight in our regional parliament. It's innovative for them too. At the start of this provincial government period, the Limburg Provincial Executive set out the ambition to become the most innovative, most attractive and healthiest region in our country. Innovative to sustainability, to sustainably strengthen our competitiveness and employment with the Brightlands campuses, the right range of SMEs and the manufacturing industry. Attractive for young people to learn and to study here, for new companies to establish themselves here, and for Limburgers themselves to stay or return, and above all, also for tourists to enjoy Limburg's hospitality to the fullest. Healthy because we are, as a society, we can live longer and we are happier as a result, to exercise more and also to get more and about through the recreation in our own province. Tonight, Limburg's regional parliament will also vote on a 9 million investment in the Brightsides Institute here, developing technological solutions on upscaling, recycling and infrastructure of our industries. It's not only the structural strengthening of our economy that's important, but also the contribution made by the activities of businesses or a group of businesses to achieve our mission goals. Producing healthy food and using as little energy as possible is central to the production process. Missions governed by the motto, Limburg makes you healthy and Limburg makes you energetic. Together that makes Limburg makes you happy. Keeping with the ambition, the missions focus primarily on healthy food, healthy Limburgers and a healthy environment, indeed the healthiest region, and in a sustainable, smart industry that makes the use of knowledge and innovation. It's not a question of getting even smarter in our innovation and creating great technological masterpieces, but also finding effective responses to the major societal issues and economic opportunities that lie ahead, not only of impact for our region, but also for the Netherlands and Europe as a whole. We are on the edge here in the cluster between Antwerp, the Rotterdam-Ruhr area, towards the German hinterland to connect even better and make sure that the transitions we face in the fields of energy, climate change, and raw materials are connected. If the campuses want to expand, there's a need for real estate to provide space for startups and established entrepreneurs, and that's why we're here today. There's a great deal of interest, and in Geleen currently, the construction of a third Bright House will start within 2 years, and in Venlo, a similar Bright House is now under construction. Support is also needed for the ambitions of the Camelot industrial cluster to become the most sustainable, competitive, and safe industrial site, energy neutral, just like the close chemical industry parks. There are so many plans, so many new developments and challenges, such as future farming, data analysis, cell therapy, and plastic recycling, to name an example for each of the campuses. What is needed, however, is to bring about the developments, scaling up, using new technology, and creating a level playing field in terms of rules and in terms of taxes. How are we going to achieve that? First, we have to electrify the energy supply, construct new pipelines, and position Camelot as a circular hub, as we have already done in the last recent weeks with the several plans which have been exposed in and on this campus. This cannot be achieved without the latest techniques. Electric cracking, developing green hydrogen and bioplastics, it's all about to happen here. And we have to do this together within the Triple Helix partnership. Not only here in Limburg, but also together with The Hague and Brussels. At European level, we're also seeing that the policy is no longer focused on sectors, but also focused on missions, such as the European Commission's Green Deal and the Just Transition Fund, which is in the making, aimed at energy transition and sustainability, and the mission of the Dutch Ministry of Economic Affairs and Climate, focused on energy, health, security, and digital developments. The pilot plans make it possible to provide facilities and researchers on a rental basis so that the direct investments of companies on a plug-and-play basis is lessened and the time of threshold from initiative to the operational phase can be greatly reduced. This also strengthens Limburg's business climate for startups as well as for small and medium-sized enterprises. It was precisely for this reason that it was important for the province to invest in this 2013. It was and is vital for the ecosystem that there are research centers on the campuses, now already for 7 years. This is also including having research facilities. Pilot and mini-plant facilities play a crucial role in these developments, and valorization of knowledge ensures a connecting role in this region. And with the pilot and mini-plants, the Brightlands campus has a unique infrastructure ranging from the lab phase, test phase, to the upscaling phase that is attractive to knowledge workers, knowledge institutions, and innovative companies. The investment time threshold for testing innovation will be significantly lower, and there are few other locations of this size where such facilities are available. The facilities offered by the pilot plant are fantastic. The facilities can be rented by various businesses, experienced personnel is available to operate on the systems, and entrepreneurs are linked to researchers. The ideas of these researchers are converted from lab to pilot production, and universities are given the opportunity to carry out tests together with skilled people and scale up at a level that is not possible in the limited labs of universities. So the presence of the pilot and mini plants is excellent to meet the challenges of energy transition. Conversions from renewable raw materials to high quality products can be tested and scaled up here. The innovations are badly needed to achieve the desired transition and also form the basis for new business activity and employment. So Insight, Vertroro, and Innosin are vital companies that use the facilities and therefore prove their value. To conclude, therefore, I'd like to congratulate Danny, Panos, and Michael on the official opening of this multi-purpose pilot plant on our Brightlands Camelot campus in the Insight Institute. Congratulations, and thank you very much for your attention.
Thank you, Joost, for your inspiring words and interesting speech. What struck me is your comment, together we can make a difference, and that's exactly what we are trying to do here. And now the moment has come that you've all been waiting for, probably, at the moment that we will ask you to join us on our virtual tour along the new installations at the multipurpose pilot plant at the Brightlands Camelot campus. Enjoy.
Do you need to scale up thermochemical or chemocatalytic conversion processes for bio-based and circular building blocks with a minimum of capital and risk? Then welcome to the multi-purpose pilot plant, a unique bio-based and circular shared facility at the Brightlands Camelot campus in Geleen. Our dream is an accelerated transition to a circular chemical industry with new value chains. And that's possible thanks to close collaboration between the Brightlands Camelot campus and Knowledge and Valorization Institute Camelot Insight, with the financial support of Insight's founding partners, Eindhoven University of Technology, Maastricht University, DSM and the province of Limburg. We can deploy the latest technologies for catalyzed reactions, polymerizations, depolymerizations and product purifications. With the smart use of our 5 modular installation skids, you can realize complex pilot production processes. For example, refining of woody biomass for the production of engineering materials. We'll now show each skid and give concrete examples of what it is used for. Take this virtual tour and discover how our facilities could benefit your circular ambitions. Our first step is the heterogeneous catalysis skid that can produce various intermediates. Insight produced several hundred kilos of green nylon intermediate in this white box that contains state-of-the-art Insight technology. The pilot was successful and the process is ready for implementation. Next, in the homogeneous catalysis skid, a green platform monomer was produced, serving as a basis for green nylons, elastomers, adhesives and coatings. At the heart of the skid is this reactor. It can operate at high pressures with a consistently stable and efficient process performance. In the distillation skid, crude, bio-based and circular intermediates and products are purified, for example, green solvents and monomers. The distillation skid is a true working horse for separating and purifying green products and intermediates. Lignin, a natural polymer that gives trees, grasses and straws both their firmness and flexibility, is a bio-based feedstock with a huge potential. Our lignin processing skid contains 2 multi-purpose reactors that can operate at the high temperatures and pressures required for conversion to oil. The 300-litre batch reactor liquefies lignin to make it suitable as a feedstock for chemicals or bunker fuel. After processing, the remaining solid residue is filtered and washed. It can then be used for bio-based bitumen, or a soil improver, or for car tyres, just to mention a few examples. In the 5-litre continuous reactor, lignin is converted into lignin oil, or even more valuable feedstocks for engineering materials. Condensers ensure the safe handling of vapours arising from the process. And thanks to dedicated and accurate thermostats, the heating and cooling cycles can be rapidly steered with exceptional accuracy. Last but not least, precision dosing from feed storage to product storage ensures a high yield with minimal waste. Embrace the full potential of the circular economy. You can use our polymerization skid to process your recycled plastic. Next, you can pre-polymerize it and adjust its composition before you produce the final polymer. This is pressed as a hot paste through a die and then cooled on this belt. In the final step, the polymer is chopped to 30 kilogram granulate samples for further testing with customers. We have the knowledge and facilities you need to realize your circular dreams. Are you up to the challenge? Then contact us. Together, we can make things happen.
Impressive, isn't it? I saw this movie approximately a week ago. And of course, as Chief Business Officer and also researcher within Votoro, I visited the multi-purpose pilot plant already multiple times, but to see it in so much detail and see the potential of this plant for the chemical industry was even surprising for me. The next thing that we want to do with you is have a panel discussion. And I want to ask the panelists now to give a short introduction between, let's say, 15 to 30 seconds. And I want to start with Joost. Can you give a short introduction, please?
Oh, I did just in the speech, Danny, so I give the floor happily to
Then we'll go
Erik
to
Appelman.
Erik immediately.
I'll snatch just 30 seconds. Erik Appelman. I'm a CTO and Business Development Director of the Brightlands Camelot campus. And I come from industry. I've worked 30 years in the chemical industry in roles of development and corporate strategy.
Thank you, Erik. Then we continue with Emiel.
My name is Emiel Staring. I'm a Managing Director of Camelot Insight. And I've been working in various kinds of public-private partnerships for the last decade or so. And I've seen how powerful this tool of joint collaboration and open innovation can be in bringing new changes in the chemical industry.
Thank you, Emiel. Then our entrepreneur, Michael.
Michael Boot, CEO and co-founder of Fratoro, and also fellow at Eindhoven University of Technology.
And last but certainly not least, Rinus Brokselman.
Hi Danny, mijn naam is Rinus Broksterman. I'm Chief Technology Officer of Innersin. And in that role I've been responsible for the technology development, but also the own product development. And as we'll discuss later on, this pilot plant is absolutely essential for us.
Thank you. So we had now this short introduction. And now it's of course time for questions. And as I said, also you from home, from your office, maybe from this chemical site, watching from your computer, you can ask questions to this gentleman. Don't hesitate to do this. But of course, questions are ladies first. So I want to ask Ingrid to ask the first question.
Yes, thank you, Danny. First question is for Erik Appelman of the Brightlands Camelot campus. Erik, just recently it was announced that the Camelot region has the ambition to become the first circular hub in Europe. And how do you think the multi-purpose pilot plant contributes to that?
When we say that the future of chemical industry has to be circular, it is quickly said. But it means that all the processes that you can actually look behind us here on that big industrial park here, but also on the big parks in Rotterdam or in Zeeland or wherever, need to be completely reinvented. And it is interesting, we invented the chemistry in the chemical industry, say in the 50s and the 60s. And today, 50, 60 years later, we have to do it completely again. And you cannot go directly from a glass tube to a new installation. The step in between is absolutely crucial to do it safely, effectively, and profitably in the end of the day. What has happened, all those installations where we did this before, they're no longer there. My university used to have a fantastic pilot plant, but it is now the pilot plant of the Arts Academy, which is a good purpose, but it means we cannot scale up anymore. And that was no problem, because we were done. Now, suddenly, a couple of years' time, we have this huge challenge in our lab. Reinvent the chemical industry. It cannot be done without a pilot plant. And this pilot plant is one of the by now very few where you can do that. Crucial and vital.
Would you say it is unique in the Netherlands? Or
well,
even
then you're talking
broader?
very quick. The only thing I can say is, well, after finishing my studies, I actually studied a bit at Shell in Amsterdam. I worked at Unilever in Vlaardingen. I worked in Gouda with what is now Croda. And at all those places, those pilot plants have disappeared. So if it means last man standing, it's pretty unique. There are other facilities, but this one is also unique, for instance, in the fact that you're operating under an industrial permit. Mm-hmm. You can do whatever you like if you're not too clumsy. So it is, in that sense, I think one of the very few truly industrial things, and also where you can walk in, because companies do have their facilities, but this is open to everyone.
Yeah. And that permit is really unique for the Camelot region, right?
Yeah, as soon as you enter the fence, we did this very serious safety introduction. That is precisely because we are right now on an industrial estate.
Yeah. Thank you very much. Next question, Danny.
Yes, So we also prepared a question for Emil. We of course now know the example of Vertoro, and I'm wondering, when can we see the next example of Vertoro coming from inside? So let me also say, like, is there anything interesting now based on research on biobase within Chemical Insight that has the potential to become a very nice startup?
Yeah, let me first maybe go back to the motto that Camelot Insight is working under, which says that we drive collaboration so that knowledge has impact. And I think all the words in that sentence are relevant. We drive collaboration so that knowledge has impact. And Vertoro is part of the impact of Camelot Insight. The way that we work is that we pick up more or less proven concepts that need a step in scaling up before they can be brought to the market. Innovations that also have an impact and that benefit man and society. In the case of the mini pilot plant, we're talking about sustainability of a future chemical industry, and also hearing what my colleagues have already said, you do not need any underlining of the importance of that. And I think that Vertoro might be a very good case to see how things can develop. Vertoro picked up an idea from the University of Eindhoven, together with partners in Insight, developed it into a process that you can make a crude lignin oil. The next question is, what can you do with this oil? Fuel, chemical intermediates, in the end, engineering materials. That in itself is quite a broad business area where you can develop new activities in startups. At the same time, we are also investigating to see whether there are other renewable resources that can do the same. So even there you are broadening up the field. So the number of opportunities there is enormous. And maybe I can ask you the question, under the holding of Vertoro BV, when will you have the next that will further pick this up and develop this? One thing, of course, is renewables. We're also looking at the recycling of polymers, engineering materials, and that's maybe not directly relevant for Vertoro, but for a lot of large companies globally that have engineering materials as a product. And in this case, we are looking how you can recycle them, also using our pilot plant. And in this case, the driver is DSM, who's also in the audience. So I think the question is maybe not so much when, but maybe you should ask how many will we see? And I think maybe to add to that, I think that Camelot Insight, and I'm also trying to explain how important Camelot Insight can be, and also maybe looking at yourself. What we also see as the PhD students that are working in our projects, they get so enthused by what the opportunities are and what the impact can be, that they want to bring that further themselves. So what we also see is that scientists start within our projects, they become an entrepreneurial scientist, and maybe looking at you, you are now an entrepreneur with a solid scientific background. And all these factors together with a low barrier entry to the pilot plant is the best possible precondition for bringing this further, also through startups, and for my part, it can also be into a large corporate.
Yes, thank you, Emil. I think it's a very clear answer, and I would say let's do a call for action. If you're an entrepreneur, and you love to do chemical engineering, contact Camelot Insight, and let's work on that together. So I see we have another question, and I give the floor then to Inge to ask this question.
Yeah, it's good to see that we have questions coming in. I just looked at it. I think that maybe a good question again for Eric Appelman. Next to the current process skids, what are your wishes for future unit operations processes that you would like to include?
What is very important to note is that we gave wonderful examples of using our equipment for lignin, but they are truly multi-purpose. That does not only refer to the shell of the building, but it also refers to pieces of equipment. This distillation column, which is quite a big one for those 20 meters long, you can separate the different things in there. So the whole plant has been designed to be used for a multitude of operations. If you really were to ask me what I would hope to see is what I call electric chemistry. And Joost, you already referred to it. Somehow we have to stop burning stuff to let our reactors run. We have to heat it up electrically. And that doesn't sound too chemical indeed. But to make that happen, you need an entirely different way of heating, of cooling, of doing many other things. And I would very much hope to see a lot of renewable energy coming into our plant to be played with by inventors and entrepreneurs. That is one. The other one, and Emil, you referred to it, recycled materials is also becoming more and more important. And you can apply a multitude of classical processes there. If I would like to see something, it is, for instance, about cracking those moieties and make them useful again as chemical Lego. So that is the other one that I have on my wish list.
Okay, thank you very much. Maybe Rinus, would you like to respond to that also, because you're one of the first users of the pilot plant?
Yeah, certainly from Innosin perspective, we have also all kinds of plants. Separately from what we have standing now, actually your question which comes in now is also very relevant. As Innosin, we're relatively very active in flow chemistry. So together with a very large, one of the world's largest chemical equipment builders, the Dietrich Process Systems, we plan to build a whole series of flow kits on pilot plant scale. So those who would go into the pilot plant now would see that you will find a cryo flow kit, which is able to do cryogenic chemistry on pilot plant scale until minus 60 degrees. So we would expect that the flow chemistry is going to be important, and that we would take a leading role here in implementing it at pilot plant scale, and then various chemistry platforms, like for example, cryogenic chemistry is the first, but we have already a second and a third in mind. So also, let's say, a testing ground of new flow kits to bring flow chemistry from lab scale to pilot plant scale.
Okay, good.
I think that's actually a very interesting one. During my master studies, I think now 6 years ago, I actually also studied flow chemistry, and then combination with lights, and then let's say on microflow, so it's a really small flow. Maybe it's interesting for Eric, but I also think Emil maybe has an opinion on that. So maybe also something that could be very interesting, because of course, something like flow chemistry, spinning disk reactors, let's say chemistry produced by the sun. Is that also something that Camelot Insight, or for example, Brightlands Camelot Campus is interested in?
Yeah, I mean, Camelot Insight, and also me myself personally, I'm very interested in that, although there can be sometimes some limitations. But going back to the question, what are your wishes for future pilot on unit operations? I think that the way that we traditionally work is that when we pick up a concept and try to develop that into a pilot plant scale, then of course we sit around the table with the people that are active in that and see what it is that they need. And then jointly we define a unit operation that could serve their need. And that could be the same whether it is for electrolysis or for, let's say, photochemical type flow reactors. So we sit together. What is it that you're trying to scale up? What equipment is needed? And how can we help you? And also make that generally available to others that might want to use that.
You also have to, you want to comment?
Yeah, if you look at the big chemistry, almost all we do is continuous processing. And batch processes, where you just cook something like at home your potatoes, that is typically done for highly diversified products. But if you look at a large refinery, at a large cracking plant, an ammonia production plant that we have all here on site, that is all continuous chemistry. Because it is much easier to control, because it is much easier to make compact. It is an essential thing to keep in. And I'm actually also fascinated by the micro flow equipment that we have seen some examples of, and which of course are very, very suitable in a pilot plant environment.
Thank you. I would say let's go to the next question.
Next question for Michael Boot. You're leading Futuro now since a few years. And can you tell us a little bit more about how important the multi-purpose pilot plant has been for your development as a company?
Well, I think it solves a very important chicken and egg dilemma. Normally, if you come out of the lab as a startup company with a small flask and saying, Eureka, and this is my next big thing, you try to go to investors and pitch your idea, and they say, that's interesting, but first they want to see market traction, and then they want to see the technologies scaled up. So then you go to the market, they say, that's interesting, but I actually need kilograms or tons in order to say anything meaningful about your product or your technology. And then you go to investors and say, well, I need 3-4 million to build a pilot plant so that I can supply to the market who's obviously interested, but just needs greater quantities to say something meaningful. And that's the problem, because then these investors say, well, it's too risky. And if we can create billion-dollar companies by sharing cars or sharing homes, why not create a billion-dollar company? It's where do we see Furtoro in 5 years? Maybe a question popped up related to where. Why don't we create a billion-dollar bio company, sharing labs, sharing pilot plants, demo plants, and even commercial scale plants? And why I would like to challenge the idea that you would have to build anything yourself in order to reach that billion-dollar landmark. If we learned anything, if we can learn anything from Silicon Valley, it's that fixed assets are not essential to create successful companies.
Okay.
That's an interesting one, but still, you didn't answer where do you see Furtoro in 5 years? There's a question, of course, from the audience, so I am interested on what is your vision. Of course, I know your vision a little bit, but would love to.
We recently announced in the spirit of the sharing economy that we'll be going to demo scale with Sikap in Sweden. It's a Swedish bioethanol company that their hardware is suitable, or their kitchen is suitable to produce our recipe, so to speak, just like the pilot plant is suitable to run our recipe. And after that, we'll be at a technology level that we can, combined with market traction captured and offtake agreements, go to a commercial scale phase, a commercial scale plant. And then it's the question, will we be building it ourselves, or will we license the technology to someone who builds it? But in 5 years, there'll be 2 to 3 commercial scale plants making hundreds of thousands of tons of this crude lignin oil, going into dozens of fuels, chemicals, and materials applications. So where do we see us in 5 years? I would say at the nexus of these interactions, and I think that Furtoro could play a leading role in lignin. And I know a lot of people never heard of lignin before, but nature produces 5 times more lignin per year than we pump oil out of the ground. So it's really, really interesting material, an alternative go-to feedstock for everything that we make now from fossil oil.
Yes, Michael, I totally agree. I think there's a very interesting question on the screen now. So I would love to give the floor to Inge to ask this.
Yeah, it's a kind of a different area now, but more education-wise. Is Brightlands planning to attract HBO, MBO schools on site? Well, as a matter of fact, there already are some, I think, but maybe Eric, you would like to tell something more about that?
If you do transitions, it is something you do with people. You need brains. Kit and steel and buildings is all very nice, but the first thing you need is people. And that's the reason why from day one, also our province has asked that we do not only build a nice home for companies, but that we also build a society where people meet each other, or a community, and among those there is also the education component. And I can tell to whoever asked this question that MBO and HBO institutions are very present indeed today on our campus. Also in some highly innovative concepts where students actually work with and for companies in a highly flexible way. So in the past I sometimes went to university, this is in Sweden, and I wanted to have some work done. And the professor says, yes, that is very interesting. You know what, I'll make a 4-year project out of it and I'll hire a PhD, and can you please fork out 500,000 euros? Here on this campus, you can actually go and talk to people and says, can I just have something done starting the next month? 3 people, maybe, some students from different graduations, some experts to support them and to make it happen. So innovation is people's work. Transitions, which is, well, big time innovation, is people's work. And we're working on that. We need them, not the least, because also our large industry does have an issue with replacing all the people that will retire as part of the well-known grey wave in Holland. So right in the heart of our strategy, and already very much happening. But everybody else who wants to join that train, please welcome.
Okay, thank you.
Add to that, not just to attract undergraduate people on this campus, but also on the other Brightlands campuses, and of course also on the larger site, because we need more than 1,000 process engineers in a very short time. And one of the brilliant examples is, I think, the Camelot innovation learning labs developed by Zuidhogeschool, the MBO institutions, and actually which we also took as a formula as a province to redevelop our education programs. So we say to the MBO institutions, yes, we want to do projects with you if they supply to our energy and health ambitions, but only if you take the companies with you. So this triple helix formula is now a prerequisite for working together and so develop education and learning programs. And I also want to underline, for example, the cooperation with the agricultural higher education institution, HAS, in Venlo. We work together with Zuid University at the Brightlands Smart Services Campus in Heerlen. Different health-related programs in Maastricht are working together. So the Brightlands formula is expanding, and not just by its shareholders, Maastricht University Province and DSM, MUMC, APG, and BASF. So also they are linking education and students research. It's essential.
It's a real community thing, huh? Maybe you can also elaborate to that, Emil, with offering actually the follow-up of what Eric already told us about the MBO, HBO, university education. What does Camelot Insight do for education, to educate professionals in this region?
Yeah, we have, I could say that there are various ways in which we do that. On the one hand, I think that the many projects that we do, whether they are executed in our facilities or sometimes within companies or universities, I think these are excellent learning positions also for HBO and MBO students. So that's the one thing. So in that sense, we are really also there training a new generation of specialists and researchers also in the way that we are working. And on the other hand, I think that the work, the type of work that we do sometimes also requires a very specific training dedicated for the job. And we have that much of that in place, so then when these people come to us, temporarily or permanently, they get educated so they can, as of day one, can be active and act as a well-educated and well-trained specialist in the area. So that is maybe not so much the let's say the broad HBO MBO study and education, but it is really dedicated to the type of work and the way that we work within Camelot Insight.
Yeah, thank you.
If I may add also to that, and I think that that's also one of the strengths of the Brightlands Camelot campus. The Brightlands Camelot campus also makes sure that all these people from MBO, HBO, universities, startup companies, young people working in, let's say, the large chemical companies present at site, that they also get connected. So there's a young professional advisory board that brings these people together and makes sure that these people also connect. And I think that that's really one of the strengths on the Brightlands Camelot campus. Maybe also a very interesting question for Joost. Wout Ludema, manager of the pilot plant facility, said this is a unique pilot plant, and I think also for Vetoren it's very unique. And I'm wondering, is there maybe also then something that let's say the province of Limburg can do for us? For example, attract people from let's say Brussels or Den Haag to get to know these facilities.
Well, our lobby objectives aim to connect the European ambitions, the European funds, as I mentioned in my speech, to what is happening here. So they have to know what's going on. For example, also a big debate in our provincial parliament last Thursday was the Brightside Institute, which I just mentioned, which is not just financed by the companies here on the Camelot side, TNO and Maastricht University, but also the province, but it needs co-financing from the national government and from Europe. And as a provincial government, you can make an easier entrance. At least you know what's going on when, at what moment. And so we have to present actually your pilot plans in kind of lobby fishes to the commission, to the lobbyists in The Hague, and make sure that they're on top of their list or that they are in the high high on the election manifestos, which are written now for the elections of next year. So that's particularly the linking pin function, which the province is well suitable to.
So basically, we just have to invite them and get them here and show them what amazing things we're all doing here.
Yeah, or bring yourself to the entrance in Brussels and The Hague, because certainly in these corona times when things are developing more in the digital ways, it's easier to connect, probably not always on the site itself, but also presenting your story there or online.
Let's discuss this further offline. Ingrid, I
Yeah,
see we
I've,
have another question.
One more question for Rinus. Do you see this pilot plant also in a collaboration with other plants? I know you're very active all around the country and know a lot of campuses and sites. Do you see any collaboration opportunities?
Yeah, I can answer that, of course. I will answer the question from the Innosyn perspective, and I think we basically almost every product or process which we have is part of a value chain with another company, with another pilot plant. So I would say 100% of our projects more or less collaborate with another company or institute which has a pilot plant. But most of them actually are abroad. I would say more than 95% of our activities are abroad. It's of course a little bit different, I guess, from the Camelot Insight perspective. Maybe, and we'll add a little bit, let's say, where we have maybe a little bit in the national perspective, but as a purely commercial user of the pilot plant, we will always work with other pilot plants, and they're almost over the whole world.
Okay, so international opportunities then.
Yeah, absolutely.
Then I think we should go to the last question.
Yes,
The
the
last
last,
question for
Joost.
Michael Boot, CEO of Vitoro. So in a few months, we hope to be in Sweden, enjoying hopefully good weather and a nice progress in our let's say, commercialization of our product. What about the pilot plant? Will you still use it then, or will it be like we're done here?
I think it's very important to use the pilot plant also in future for continuous development. I think the attractiveness of Sweden, the demo plant there, is to get a boost in our TRL level, so our technology readiness level. But after that, that's just one flavor of our recipe. We can do for countless different applications. We can tune it. And if you want to make a plastic A, you might use it in a certain way. If you want to do a certain chemical or a flavor or UV stabilizer, whatever you need to adjust the chemistry, also possibly adjust the feedstock. We're looking at coffee ground, shampoos, all different types of waste biomass that people aren't really looking at yet. So there's so many variables on the feedstock side, on the process condition side. But what I really would want to do as a next step after we demonstrate that we can scale the platform is to scale the apps for the platform. If you try to imagine Android without YouTube or Twitter, nobody would use it. So if we want to push, bring our technology into the market as a new bio-based platform, we need killer apps. And for these apps, we would also want dedicated rigs at the pilot plant, because they have to go also from lab to pilot to demo. So I see most of our activity here fine-tuning the chemistry for the platform, and secondary, but I think will be more and more important, is to scale up also the applications.
Yes, thank you, Michael. And I think we can summarize this very nicely. So as a sustainable company as Vitoro, we can go from waste material to a platform product, and we can go from platform product to the killer apps, as Michael says, to material, chemicals, fuels, and that only in this multi-purpose pilot plant. So only there we can go from feedstock to killer apps. I think it's time for the end.
Yeah, it's time for the final question for Joost. Well, having seen and heard all of these events and ambitions, killer apps, and we would like to ask you, 70 kilometers north is the high-tech campus in Eindhoven, very well known also. This campus is also full of ambition. Do you have any tips how we can become more known as a community to get to the level of the high-tech campus?
Yeah, that simply never stopping to tell that the Netherlands is more than main ports, metropolitan regions, brain ports, but we have bright lands here in the literal sense and also in the sense of science and technology. And tell it, be good and tell it. That's my message. So make sure that Brightlands is all known all over the place, particularly in the areas where the decisions are made for the upcoming years.
Okay, so that's what we're trying to do today. So yeah, thank you for that. I would like to ask your help on behalf of the province of Limburg and on behalf of the organizing parties. We would like to present to you today the first crude lignin oil, the green oil. So as a remarkable point in time, it's maybe a collector's item already, and I would like to help you revealing it together. So please join me.
Okay.
We have to be a little careful because it's fragile. Okay, we have a countdown from 5 to 0. So there we go. Maybe the panel members can count with us. 2, 1. There it is. Whoa. So.
Normally we would shake hands. And now
Yeah, exactly. Yes, let's do this. Yeah, okay. So here's the first crude lignin oil on behalf of the 3 organizing parties, Brightlands Camelot Campus, Camelot Insight, and Futuro. Please be careful and save it, and perhaps it can get a nice spot in the governmental house. Okay, you're very welcome.
Joost, maybe just a final question, and then I will wrap it up.
Oh.
If you go back tonight, so where will you place it? I'm wondering where will it be? The collector's item will be placed.
I'm very surprised to have it as a collector's item, but actually I hope many of them will be produced in reality. No, I think we gave it a spot in the lab, which a part of the governmental buildings which is open 24 hours a day. So for the very active civil servants who want to work through day and night, and also it's called the laboratory, and it's not in the offices of the executive, but of the civil servants who are supporting the development of this campus as a symbol of inspiration.
Sounds like a good plan.
Okay.
And on this, I would like to end the opening of the multi-purpose pilot plant. If you want to have more information about the multi-purpose pilot plant, you can always contact Marijn Rijkers from Camelot Insight or Wout Ludema from the Brightlands Camelot campus. Their contact details are given in the virtual tour that will be shared with all of you, will also be placed online on YouTube. If you want to know more, or if you want to get in contact with Futuro, you can always contact me, Danny van Aas. You can find me, for example, on LinkedIn. And on that, we want to conclude this virtual opening of the multi-purpose pilot plant. And we hope to see you one day at the Brightlands Camelot campus. Thank you.
Thank you all for watching, and thank our panel members for being present here. Thank you.